first thing we're going to do is I am going to talk with you about those handouts that you have there. After that, we'll go over the exam. And then from there, we're going to try to do some lecture. It's probably not going to be a lot of lecture. Between the lecture and your homework somewhere, we're going to put. We're going to do the homework that was handed out too. Did everybody do their homework from last week?
Yes.
Oh, First, Second Kings, and
Yeah.
then on and on. Right? Yeah. Okay, good. So I guess the first thing we'll do is talk about. If you look at if you have your syllabus, and you look at it, look at the important dates, the back page. It's like this one. Who doesn't have it? You can use mine, but I'll have to get this one back because this is the actual. Yeah. You have to get that one. Yeah, somebody else needs one. Yeah. Well, I can talk about it. You just look at your syllabus later. What I want you to focus on, we're in week 6 right now, okay? And we're going to do the remaining of the historical books, right? Which means we'll go over Kings, Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther. We're going to start first and second, probably first Kings today before the day is over. But before we do that, if you look 2 weeks ahead, which is the 8th week, which is the 21st of April, you can write this down. If you don't have the syllabus, so you remember, you can match it up. The 21st of April is your first oral presentation, right? Remember that? The reason that I'm going to go over this now is because I want to give you 2 weeks to prepare and get it ready so that when you come in on that day, that you'll be ready to do it. Now on your handouts, I gave you a outline. I mean, you got an outline, but you also got. You didn't take any pictures?
Outline this one, the outline that I put.
The one I want you to turn to is the one that has the two-team people. Okay, that will be this one. This is the teaching outline and oral reporting matchup. So this is where you're going to match up with another person. So this is what we're doing right now. I want you to pick the team that you're going to be with, the 2 people. And I know what's up, one together. So what I need for you to do is just put it on the top there. Your 2 names. Okay. One. That's going to be. You're going to be doing. The 2 of you are going to be doing 2 Timothy's. Incidentally, all of these are very short. They're short books, so you should be able to do a fairly decent outline on it without having to go too far. And then on Philippians, who are you going to pick? Actually, I have you on Thessalonians. Second. Okay, Philippians. Who are you going to pair?
Well, maybe Marianne and me. Marianne.
Marianne and her. Oh, brother and friend.
Okay, for Philippians. So Ephraim and Elena?
Marianne.
No, Marianne.
Oh, Marianne.
Yeah, because we're here.
And then on Colossians, that's going to be Lulu and Bill, right? Okay. And then, who else do we have? Just have,
Mark and Elena.
Mark and Elena, but he's not showing up a lot, so.
So he said this is his last day that he would not to show up.
Okay.
So brother Mark
First Thessalonians. Okay, so they will have First Thessalonians.
Group 4.
4, yeah.
First Thessalonians.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
What is this? This is already 4, so this is gonna be 5.
Yeah, because we have 2 more people.
So do we have 5?
But you don't have to worry about that.
No, it's
You just-
only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
You just have to worry about the first one, yours.
Oh, okay.
First, Second Timothy's, and then of course, Marianne and Ephraim are going to be doing Philippians. Lulu and Belle is going to be doing Colossians.
No, it's Mark and Elena.
this is the oral
Mark and Elena,
presentation.
Colossians.
Second Thessalonians is Bell and Lulu.
Yeah, Second Thessalonians, Belle and Lulu.
Number ang tayo ng group 3 tayo.
Group 3.
And then group 5 is, kasi dalawa na tayo eh.
So the conclusion is me and Pastor Mark.
So group 5 is Anna,
Group 3.
Well, okay.
Anna and
How
Robert.
are you? Anna and Robert?
Group 4. Group 5. Anna and Robert. That's it. Group 4 is 8, 10, 10.
Okay. That's everybody, right? Let's get the handouts.
I hope it is,
You already put some there? The handouts or
yeah,
homework?
the handout. You have the handout, Marianne? Where did you find anything?
No.
No?
We have some handouts here. Do you have more?
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gents. That's it, that's all of it? It should be this, should be this, this, and the 3 pages. This one's I have. That's not, that's the homework. That's the homework. No, I'm not passing that out, I'm passing that out.
This is how
You did? Can you show me the 3 pages you have? That you were given?
the drawing
The back.
only for
Bob,
Need any more? 1, 2, 3. This and this. She already has that? You already have it. Does everybody have the handouts? You're going to have 3 handouts. The homework, you're going to have a teaching and outline of oral reporting, which is this. And then you're going to have a theological outline on Titus.
I'm missing now. Oh wait, here.
And there should have been some homework left out too from last time. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So everybody's ready. Everybody has those 3 handouts, I think. On this first handout, for those of you who came a little late, we already separated the groups. Right? And when we did, you have all the
On
groups.
group 1, Timothy, it's Juan and Rosel.
And Rosel.
And group 2, we have Brother Efren and Marianne. In group 3, we have Sister Lulu and Sister Lulu.
Number 3 is Mark and
Mark
Elaine.
and Elena.
Mark and Elaine.
Mark and Elaine, Brother Mark and Sister Elena, and in Colossians, you're gonna Sister Lulu and Sister Belle. And then group 5, it's gonna be Brother Bobby and Sister Annie.
First Thessalonians.
There's a typo in group 3. There's 2 group 3s. The second one is obviously the 4th group. So you can change that.
Uh-huh.
So we're First Thessalonians.
Second.
Second Thessalonians.
Where's Second Thessalonians?
This is the second one. So they are the first.
So we have Second Thessalonians.
Bell and Lulu are at Second Thessalonians.
Yeah. So they are
And then
first.
through 5
First Thessalonians.
is First Thessalonians.
So we have first?
Yeah.
First?
Yeah.
Okay, we're first.
You're
First
first.
Thessalonians.
We added that one on there. You won't see it. You'll see 4 down there and then put a 5th one. I'll show you.
It doesn't have one.
Because I didn't have enough there, so we just added one. So we added you guys here, number 5. This is number 4, this is number 5.
So one understand.
You're first Thessalonians, okay?
Sir, there's no problem with me because I broke my wrist, so I can't write on my right hand. So
I have to do it.
Yeah, I've been doing it for him.
It doesn't matter how you do it as teams, as long as you get along.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I ask is get along and be fair to one another, except for the situation of a husband and wife where the husband's injured in his hand. Okay? That's an exception. So okay. At the bottom it says each group is to submit a teaching outline and also prepare an oral report. An example outline on the book of Titus is provided. That's the one I handed to you. That's the other form, which is this one. I'm going to go over that in just a minute, so keep that aside. The teaching outline is not just regular outline, as found in many good Bibles. The Bibles have an outline in them, okay? You're going to use it as a reference, but you cannot copy from it. And I'll show you how that works when we do this Titus. Right? You are to summarize thoughts / teaching as found in Scripture. Many headlines in your Bible are a helpful hint. I'll show you what that is later too. Please provide a chapter / verse reference for each point in your outline. Okay? And if you look at the handout with Titus, you'll see at the end of each one of those, you'll see the verse. So in the case of Titus, you have Titus 1:5. The second, the third one down. The first one you have for chapter 1, verse 1 to 4. And the second one you have 1, verse 5. You see how they did that? So they got those references from those verses. Okay?
So the first Titus is 1 to 5?
Look at your theological hand. Look at that.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so everybody understand that? The points that you're making need to have a verse. I'll know that you're in the verse that you're in, so you don't have to put the name of it. Just put the number. You know, I already know what I've given you, so don't worry about that. The oral report is based on a small portion of your outline. For example, if you have 10 teaching points, it should say your outline. So that's a typo. Your outline from the epistles assigned to you. You only need to do an oral presentation on one point. And the presentation is limited to 15 minutes. What one point is, if you look at your handout here, this could be one point, number 3. Obviously you can't use 1 and 2, it's not long enough. And when you go to 3, you'll see you have sub-points that you'll make, A and B. You can talk about those. If those don't get you 15 minutes, try the next one down. Based on your section that you're doing and how much you get in each group. Some of these points are longer than others in the Bible. Okay? So if you make sure you have one that you can talk about, you only talk about that section. Like in the fourth one, you have A, B, C, D, and E. That could be one that you do an oral presentation. You're not going to do an oral presentation on the whole thing. Okay? You may have 1 page, you may have 2 pages. Hopefully, if you do it right, you'll come out with at least 1 page, 1.5. 2 pages in some cases.
What member should speak?
Just one. Just one person. One person out of the 2 can speak, okay? Practice, please, because you want to be able to do it in 15 minutes and not run over. The problem is, I will start taking points away from you when you go for 15 minutes. So that's an encouragement for you to practice it so that you know you got it down in 15 minutes. Don't be afraid of being up here in front of anybody. It's okay, we all know each other anyway, right? Public speaking is not an easy thing for everybody, but here in this school and what you're learning, you're going to be, if you're not already speaking in public, you will. Because you'll be doing Bible studies if you're not doing them already. You'll get chances to speak before groups, and you'll need to be able to do that. And this is part of what this helps you do. It helps you set it up and be able to articulate it in front of a group, whether it's a Bible study or whether it's in front of just a classroom or even in church. See, using this kind of technique, you can actually develop a sermon. You'll learn about that later on, but this is the basis of developing a sermon. Okay? So it's very good to learn this at the basic level and get it down really good. Okay? Now, you have that, right? We're going to go over this in just a minute. So we did that. That's your oral presentation. You also have a theme coming up. Okay? I don't have the stuff for the theme yet. That's 3 weeks from now. So next week when we come in, I'll talk to you about the theme. This is why I'm talking about the oral presentation now, because next week I got to talk about your theme. And that's going to be 2 weeks in the future from next week. So that gives you a lot of time to digest this and set it aside so that you're able to make all of this happen in a reasonable amount of time. That you're not too cramped. Imagine if I came and told you this week and you have to have it next week.
Right.
You know, that's kind of hard. So, let's go back to your theological outline again. Does anybody have Bibles? Either on your phone or you brought one with you? If you do, go to Titus. Go there, and go to Titus. We're going to take a real quick look at how that's going to be set up. As you go along with this, just briefly, you'll see how the outline was derived from the actual verses and the titles of the verses. Of course, if you have it, amen. 2063. It is the book after 2 Timothy's and Philemon. Between those two.
Titus chapter 1.
See that? And this is the whole point. You're getting short books in sections so that you won't have a lot. You have to track from 2063. 2063. Okay. Now, if you're at the beginning and the first verse, right? If you're at the first verse, what does it have at the first verse there? What's going on?
Greetings.
Somebody read that?
Paul, a bondservant of God and an apostle of Jesus Christ, according to the faith of God's elect and the acknowledgement of the truth which accords with godliness.
Okay, so what is Paul doing here?
He's a servant of God.
What is a greeting? Another way of saying greeting. Look on your hand.
Salutation.
So you see how they did that? I don't want you to put greeting so much. Unless you can't come up with another word that means the same thing as the word they put in the Bible. Like if there was no other word other than greeting, then you could put it. But I want you to use different words, if at all possible in every case. Right? We know this is a greeting. Another way of saying greeting is salutation. That's all you really have to put there. You can put more information if you want. But in this case, they did it, and that's okay. Because it's the beginning. Do you really want to talk a lot about him saying hello, everybody. You know, it's not really that important, but you do want to make a distinction of it because it's the beginning. And like any type of work that you put together like this, you'll learn in your English class that you have what's a beginning, you have a middle, and you have an ending. You have a beginning, a body, and a conclusion. Or introduction, body, and conclusion. Beginning, middle, and ending. Right? Every essay is done that way. This is just an outline, but these outlines turn into essays later. Not for this, but this is why you make outlines, so you can develop an essay. So in this case, this was the beginning. He opened it up with a greeting. That was the salutation. Now, he goes down to, and he puts it from verse 1, or chapter 1, from verse 1 to 4, right? Once the person got past that, then they went down to verse 5. What's happening in verse 5? Somebody read verse 5.
The reason I left you in Crete was that you might straighten out what was left unfinished and appoint elders in every town as I directed you.
Now, somebody read what's on the handout. 1, 2.
Paul state Titus's mission in Crete, which is to organize the church and appoint elders in every town.
You see how they did that? They didn't take the exact words, they took it and paraphrased it into their own words. So each section that you do that with, that's what I want to see. I want to see you paraphrase it. Okay? I don't want you to write what's exactly in the Bible. Everybody understand? Go down to 3. Somebody read 3. Beth? You want to read number 2? No, on your handout. That would be the theological outline.
This one,
Yeah. Read number 3, please.
number 2.
Three.
Number 3. Paul's instructions in regard to appointment of elders and urgency of accomplishing this task.
Now, I don't want you to read the rest of it. I think you're getting the ideal right now. You look at that, it went from chapter 1, verse 5 to 16. It covers a lot of stuff. That's why they were able to expand it and go into an A and a B. Okay? If you go down to 4 and you look at it, it starts at, you don't have to go from verse to verse and make that. You can skip. Like in this case, they went from 5 to 16 and they went to 2, 1. But does it end at 16? Then it goes to 2. I'm not sure if it does that. But it ends at 16, so they started again at 2, 1, and went to 3, 11. And of course, because it was 2, 1 to 3, 11, they had a lot more to be able to go on A, B, C, D, and E. So you see how they did that? And then of course 5 was their finish. That should end it. Chapter 3, verse 12 through 15. That should end the whole book. Right? So that's what you should have. And you should have it broken down just like you see on here. It won't be exactly like this based on the book that you're going through. But you get the idea of what you need here. In the Bible, what it does is like it showed you. It showed you the beginning, the greetings, right? And in mine, you can't see it up here, but the first bold is greetings. The second one that came about was the qualifying the elders. So the book kind of separates it for you already.
Right.
It's okay to use that, just don't write it verbatim. That's all. Like in here, on their second one, they talked about why Paul was there, to instruct the elders, and the urgency of accomplishing the task. So those bold parts will show you where to start and stop. Right? So your first one started with greetings, it stopped, and then it started with him speaking about the elders, and then it stopped, and then it started him speaking about
Appointment of elders.
yeah. So that's how you're going to do it. Just look at the bold types, and you can go from there to there to make your different 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. And under that, in between those, you have A, B, C, D. Okay? It doesn't have to say A, B, C, D. You can say A, and then you can say 1, 2, 3. It just depends on how you want to do it. How much work you want.
In other words, for those are sub-points, right?
Right. Sub-points and sub-points. Okay? So that's clear? Everybody got that? Because we're running out of time, so. What I want to do now is we went over all of that, okay? You still have your homework to go over, but before I do that, we're going to do the review of the exam. Any questions?
What is the next organization? What's the date?
That's a good point, because we have 2 oral presentations coming up.
Okay.
So, what I'm going to do is, in the first group, 3 of you will present, the first 3.
Okay.
In the last group, the last 2 will present.
Okay.
And the last 2 will present the oral actually we had 1. We missed the first oral presentation, I wiped that out.
Oh, okay. So
We're on the second one. So the first 3 groups will present next time.
April 21st.
Right, that'll be in April 21st. And then the next following group will do it
April 28th.
June 9th. I
Oh,
think that's
July.
the next one. So you have a lot longer than the last 2.
Okay.
May,
Oh,
wait.
I like that. Give me time to hear, okay?
April 9, May 9.
Because that's how they're separated. There was actually 3. There was one on the 24th, we missed it. Then there was one on the 21st, and now there's one on the 9th. And can we do this? Can we move that 9th up to the 19th? So we'll move it to the 19th from June 9th up to the 19th. That's the 12th week. So for the last 2 groups, you're going to do it on the 12th week, which is June 9th. We only have 2 things to go over there, Luke and Acts.
Right.
So it's done a little bit sooner, and there's not a lot of space in between. It's a little bit more fair, right? Okay, everybody got that?
June 1,
It's going to be where we are doing Luke and Act, so it's May 19th.
May,
I mean, April, May.
May, only 9.
April 19th?
May 19th.
That's why I was wondering about June.
Because it's here on the syllabus, on the outline here for June, but I'm going to move it up. Because we're only doing 2 books that day, so you can do two groups can do oral communication. That'll work.
How about the
There's May 18th, not 19th.
It should be the 12th week. Look at the 12th week.
Oh yeah, May 19th.
So mark it, your thing there, 12th week. Okay, let us go over the exam. How's that? You want to do that?
Okay.
Or you want to wait till next week?
No, it's okay.
May.
It's up to you to keep your grades to yourself. That's okay with you? No one should know. What is yours? Sorry. And Robert.
Thank you, sir.
No. Mark will have to get his exam from me because technically by policy, we're not supposed to show grades to other people other than the person it belongs to. It's okay if you get your homework off the desk and you see a grade on it, that's not a big deal, but quizzes, exams, and overall grade is not to be reported to anyone except for the person it belongs to. So in following policy and procedure, I want to make sure that stays. If you look at it and you see, and we're going to go over it real quick, you will see a little clip on the front of it that will show you what happened. You have 7 sections, to include the extra credit. So you have 6 sections in the extra credit. You see it on the left side there? Your total score out of that is what you got on your exam. And The one next to it, to the right, the last column, is what it would have been without the extra credit. So in other words, if you score beyond the extra credit, then you would have more than 12.75. Each quiz is worth 12.75. Okay? You'll have 4 of them. You've already taken one, you have 3 left. You total them all together and you'll come up with 50 points. That's 50% of your grade. 50 out of 100. Okay? So this is just, I don't, if you don't feel good about your grade there, don't worry about it. It's only 1/4 of the 50%. You still have a chance to do well on the next ones, and you still will be getting extra credit on the next ones. I gave you a 1/2 point extra credit if you took advantage of that. That's a lot. That made a difference for some people. In the future, you do well on the test and you do the extra credit, you can actually score above an A. And you can add those points to your total grade over the end. You still got 3 more chances to do that. There'll be at least 1.5 points more. And I'll also give out some other extra credit over time so that you can add to that. And that'll be in the form of like a short essay. Okay? Now, let's just go over this real quick. And we'll start with the first section. Does everybody understand what they see there? And how it's broken down? It looks a little bit complicated, but it's really not. Each section has a point value. And either you got the total points or you got less than the total points. Okay? I will say this before we go over the quiz. In the future, if you want to do better than what you see there, now, the average, I think the average overall for the whole class was about a C. Right? Somewhere about mid-C for the average. Of course, some people did better, some people did not so better. But that was the average probably, around a mid-C. Yeah, maybe even a B. But it was a lot of the lower end, so versus the high end. So that would have pulled it down. But what I want to say is that if you want to do better in the future, you're going to keep this test. Look at your review. Everything that I asked you on this test was on the review. If you know the review, you can get an A. Some of the review came out of our lecture. Some of it came out of your own reading. If you're reading and you understand what you're going over on the review, you're going to end up with an A. If you do that and you do the extra credits, you're going to end up with an A+. And I will tell you that, I can tell you this much, in this class we had at least 2 people with an A+. That showed me who was studying, or who can get it very easily. I don't know which one it is, but they sure did well. And of course there was a B and some C's. Okay? But if you take your review and you study it, you're going to do well. Everything I asked you came out of the review.
Right.
I can show you. It all came out of the review. That's not hard. But in order to understand a review, you have to read too. Because the problem with the review is, if you study it too straight, I might throw a question in there that's a trick. And if you didn't read the chapter, you won't really understand that that's a trick question. And I'll show you later when we go over this. We got about 10 minutes, we're going to go over this, and then we're going to stop after that. We'll pick up next week and try to catch up with everything. Okay? Okay, number 1, let's start with the first section. Was that true or false? Okay. God's eternal covenant is not fundamental to both the Old and New Testament. Of course, that's false, right? Number 2, true or false?
False.
That was false. God's eternal covenant includes 3 fundamental ingredients. Which one is not a fundamental ingredient out of the 3? Who works in us and through us? Who works in us and through us? The Holy Spirit.
Holy Spirit.
Was the Holy Spirit working in and through them back then? It was a trick question, but you just have to think a little bit. That's the Old Testament, that's the Old Covenant. The Holy Spirit was not in anybody. Okay? It was with them, it was around them, but it wasn't in them. So that was the way to easily distinguish that. If you're paying attention, you'll see that. You read it, you'll see it. You'll know that that's not true, right? That's the trick, one of the trick questions. Number 3, true or false?
False.
God's eternal covenant reveals His intentions to bless mankind in 3 basic ways. Which one isn't a way? Okay. I know, but I want some other participation so I can spread some of the points around. Which one was it? Which was the false one in that statement, that question? Was it divine hardship? Divine
faithful.
Divine faith. That's not one of them. What's the right answer for that? Okay, let's go to number 4. True or false?
True.
Passover represents a new beginning of the people in Israel. Number 5. True or false? The law was given by Moses at Sinai. That's not true, right? Number 6.
Where was the law given?
The other mountain. What's the other mountain? What's the other mountain? What is that?
I thought it was Mount Sinai.
It's not Mount Sinai. Mount Moriah. It was actually at Mount Moriah. So that's the other mountain, okay? Out of the 2. And number 7. True or false?
True.
Abraham is the first patriarchal father. 8. True or false?
You skipped 6. Adam is considered a type of Moses.
Oh, Adam is considered the type of Moses. We skipped that. Was that true or false?
Oh,
False.
No, oh yeah, that's right.
Adam is considered a type of what?
Jesus.
Yeah, Christ. That was a trick question, but you should have known that.
Yeah.
Because he was the first one.
uh-huh.
You know, everybody knows that he's
Yeah.
the type of Christ, right? Definitely not like Moses.
Yeah.
Oh, this is
Okay, number 7 was
Sure.
true. Yes. Number 8,
False.
false. Joshua inquired with God when making the treaty with the
False.
Gibeonites. And we know that's false, right?
Yeah.
And why? What happened? They actually got in trouble with that, didn't they? They tried to make friends with them, they intermarried, they did all these things and God punished them. So that, all of those things you should really have recalled. Especially with the Gibeonites, because they were the first ones that they did that with, isn't it? When they got over to the Promised Land, wasn't that the first group that they did that with? Try to make friends, and then they started intermingling and all these other things, you know? So I picked one of the groups that was the first, which should have stuck out. And then number 9, true or false?
True.
Sure.
Ruth represents God's faithfulness to His people. That is correct. And 10, Lulu?
Sure. Oh,
10. Moses was not considered to be a great hero of God.
false.
It's false, right? Because he was considered a great hero. Okay. All right, second section. Juan, what's the tabernacle? What letter is that?
C. Center of worship for Israel nation.
Yeah, correct.
Next.
Sabbath is a day of worship and rest.
Okay. Next, Bell.
Nabal and Abigail,
So that was
center of worship for Israel nation.
Sons of Aaron.
Son of Aaron. 8.
A. So the first one was C, the second one was G, the third one was A. Okay.
No.
Elena? What's the next one? Achan? What do you match Achan with? Achan was B.
B.
battle at Ai was lost because of one man's sin. And we had that election. That was an election, and it's also in the review.
So,
And that was a significant thing too, because my goodness, I mean, he messed up everything for everybody. The whole tribe, the whole 12 tribes were punished because of that, because of one man's act, right?
so what is it?
B.
B.
What's the next one? Account of creation.
Theocentric and anthropocentric.
Yes. And that's the two creations, right? And then flood.
D.
D. Okay. Everybody should know that one. And then Ark of Noah. It's obviously E. It's a type of Christ, right? A representation of Christ. Okay, next section. The name of the 5 types of offerings are?
Grain,
Mhm.
sin,
Mhm.
fellowship. What's the last one?
No fellowship.
Sin and guilt.
Sin and guilt. So we have burnt, grain, first fruit, sin, and guilt, right?
Sin and guilt.
Number 2. I'm not going to go over that one. I think everybody got that right. And number 3, name the 5 books of the Pentateuch. What are the 5 books?
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy.
Everybody got that? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Name at least 2 types of feasts.
Sabbath and Passover.
Okay. What's some other ones?
First fruit.
Pentecost, Tabernacles.
Okay, good. Match the following terms again. Ark of the Covenant.
D.
D.
The golden tabernacle box that contains the Ten Commandments.
Okay, what about curtain?
A. Symbolize how people were separated from God.
Table.
Table is E. Golden and located in the holy place.
Okay. Altar of incense. Mhm.
And then in the holy place in front of curtain.
Lampstand.
C.
Mhm. Basin.
G.
And bread of
D.
That's it. Everybody got that? D, A, E, F, C, G, D. Okay. Now, who wants to try the Abrahamic covenant? That was one that people struggled with, so do you know what that is? That is a very common one too when we lecture about it.
Yeah, making a father of all nations.
That's right. What else?
That's all right.
Anybody know the rest?
Abraham believed God and was willing to sacrifice his son Isaac. It was reckoned to him as righteousness.
That's not what I was.
He was a righteous man and a father of faith, a friend of God, because of his righteousness. No.
This is one thing. God said, I will be your God.
Yes.
No, first,
This is the Abrahamic covenant, so listen closely. Okay?
it is, I will be your God, and you will be my people.
Yes.
Then I will make you into a great nation,
Yes.
and then I will bless the whole earth.
He will bless them,
Bless them through all generations,
right?
and then
He will bless the other nations. He will bless them as a nation. He will bless other nations through him. That is the Abrahamic covenant. If you had anything close to that or similar to that, you got points. And I tried to be very lenient on that because I was seeing a lot of different stuff there, so I tried to give you something, but if you didn't really have that set up like he just stated, that's basically what the Abraham covenant is. Okay? It's very, very clear. It's in the review, along with the textbook. It's in the review. Textbook doesn't make it as clear, but the review does. And it's actually verses in the Bible. So the Bible said it just like we just said. Okay, second, which was another one that was very prominent. What did he promise Joshua? What did God promise Joshua? We all should know.
Be strong and be very courageous.
Yes. Yes, we lectured about that. We talked about that. And I talked about how even today we've got to look at Jesus. And Jesus is where we get our strength from, right? Just like he tells us not to be afraid these days, right? And then, of course, your last one, we don't have to go over that because that was on your own interpretation. And I think I gave most everybody who answered it credit for that, okay? So that was your exam. It wasn't hard if you studied the review and you read the text. And really, if you read the text, you don't pay that much attention to it, but you study the review, you're going to really do well on this. So the next time, that's what I want to hope that you do. Pay attention to the review, because that's where I'm going to get the questions from. So if you know the review, you're going to know the exam. It's just that simple. Right? Okay, we won't be able to go over anything else because we run out of time. I'm already eating into your time, so I don't want to do any more. We will be working hard to catch up next week, so be prepared. We're going to go over all of the books real quick. You have a question?
No, I was just the first one that the true or false, that the third one that you said, I will work in you and through you. But I mean, from my point of view, I understood because God was working in Abraham, and then through him he will bless the nation.
He didn't work in Abraham. He didn't work.
But he changed Abraham. God changed Abraham
From the outside.
Inside too. Inside. That's why he became a man of faith.
He was a man of faith because of his belief.
But I don't know. That's what I said for my.
Well, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
The old covenant and the new covenant.
Yeah.
What is the difference with man and the relationship to God in the old covenant and the new covenant? What is the relationship?
Yes.
What is the relationship? This is how you have to really look at this, right? I know we can bend and twist this, but this is how you really got to look at this, because this is the truth from the Bible.
Yeah.
The old covenant does what with man? How does God relate to man in the old covenant? What are the things and how does he relate to man?
Obedience, follow the commandments.
They were in the wilderness. What did they carry around with them?
Oh, God. Yes.
Wasn't that the presence of God?
Yeah.
Was that in people or in a box?
Box.
Okay, so that's the relativity of that. That's the importance of that. Is that he dealt with man through the Ark of the Covenant. And how did he communicate to them?
For Moses.
Through Moses. In the case of Moses, and he communicated to Moses through bushes and things and everything else. The new covenant. How does God deal with us in the new covenant?
He lives in you, the
He
Spirit.
lives in you. Do you have a box around anymore?
No.
Who becomes the box?
You.
You. You become the box. You're the tabernacle now. Right?
Amen.
And if he's living in you, in the tabernacle in you, then guess what? He talks to you from within.
Yeah.
You see the difference? That's how you have to look at that. We have a new covenant, we have an old covenant. God dealt with man two different ways. So we can bend and twist it, but the truth of the matter is, in the Old Testament, the Spirit of God was not in us. That's why that question sounds like that. Because you have to be able to know the difference between what the old and the new covenant is. And you really only have to know what the old covenant was in this case, because we haven't gotten to the New Testament. But if you just know the old covenant, you know that. And of course, we have an edge. Today we know Jesus and we know all about some of the gospel, right? So we already know that he lives in us. The Spirit of God lives in us. So that's the way you have to look at that. Even though it was a trick question, it was one that you were able to, if you really looked at it closely, you were able to distinguish and discern, right? Based off of the Old Testament versus the New Testament, Old Covenant versus New Covenant, right? Okay. We have a what? Oh, yeah? Why? What do you, oh, sign? Oh, okay, she just showed me, and I apologize, I didn't pay attention to that. The law was given at Mount Sinai, so I'll adjust everybody's, yeah, those are good.
So I had it right. I had it right.
So, I apologize for that, she caught it, so that's good, that was my mistake. Sorry, I'm not always that is correct. So, if you had it correct, what's your name? Give your name, and I'll change it on your grade. Okay? So who had it correct? I'm trusting that you're honest.
What your answer? No, what number? No, it's a
Number 5.
Number 5.
You know what? I'll give all of you the points, okay?
Oh, yeah, because mine was wrong.
Yeah, I think almost all of you got it wrong.
What is number 5?
Yeah, no, my answer is
True.
but it's wrong. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
but
what I
it's
did.
true.
Oh, it's
So
true?
you'll still be.
Oh, okay.
It is true, yeah.
So you'll get the points for that, all of you, okay?
Yeah.
So I'll correct that and give the points for it.
Oh,
It's not much.
It's not number 5.
And the point, this is what the point is that you missed. And I know you want all your points and you need them, but this is what it'll be. 0.025 will be added to your 12. Okay, so the point that you're going to get is even less than